Hello, everybody, and welcome to Malts and Meeples with an insane setup here. I will just call it that. Move the keyboard out of the way. Shouldn't need that. I will need the mouse because let's do it. Board. Close up on the character. Our map. That's not even all the map. Like, the top part of the map is cut off. Like, that town is dead center on the map. Well, like, there's dead center on the map. So that means there's that much space up above that I'm not getting on the camera right now. So, might be tweaking my setup here just because there's so much stuff. Readjusting the orientation, switching up kind of the backdrop so that it might possibly be more like what I had for the opening of the Lord of the Rings Magic set, facing that way, and then having everything kind of rejiggered. We'll see when I get to that, but let me get set up properly here. I forgot to reset my money and my lux both to 0. And, well, that one is all wrong. So my apologies there. That is backwards from what it should be. It's halfway there now. I wonder if I accidentally flipped this one at some point in time. So, let's pop back up here. Because this is going to be interesting to start. This is a huge game. Takes up massive amounts of table space. I have gone over the rules. I haven't played. We're going to be jumping into the prologue here in a second, and I'm going to be using the Foreteller app for the narration. That doesn't mean that I won't be going to the books, but less so for story. Good old-fashioned there. Let's get started with a little bit of story.
Even with your eyes closed, the images are etched on your eyelids. The surprise on the soldiers' faces, followed quickly by fear and panic. They hadn't stood a chance. Already, the wind and snow are working to sweep the carnage under a fresh white blanket. You and a couple of the younger guards begin picking through the dead like carrion crows, searching for anything of value. You brush the snow from a fallen captain, revealing a face that is far too young. Reaching into the dead man's pockets, you are rewarded with a folded piece of parchment bearing the broken wax seal of Falmond. Inside is a hastily scribbled letter in a script you can't read, most likely marching orders for the deceased squad. It feels odd to be holding the letter that sent its bearer to his doom. If the soldiers had been able to carry out their orders, it would be you lying in the snow alongside your brothers and sisters. You suddenly feel very tired. what is it all for? The senseless fighting, the waste of life. There is no meaning in it. With a sigh, you rise from the corpse and begin making your way toward Captain Grigory with the letter. On the way, you pass Pavel and Yana, who are busy rifling through another corpse. They glance up and notice the letter, nodding in approval, before returning to their grim task. Captain Grigory is deep in conversation with Vera, Catherine, and Karzan when you approach with the letter. The captain notices you and breaks away from the group.
What have you found, Yuri?
A letter on their captain, sir. Probably orders, but I can't make it out.
Captain Grigory scans the letter and frowns.
This is odd. It appears this group was not part of the regular army. They were a special detachment calling themselves Stone Hunters. What could their purpose have been?
I have heard of these Stone Hunters,
says Catherine, stepping forward.
They have bought into their Mad King's delusions about the Stonebound.
Stonebound? You mean the rumors of people with magic powers?
Yes, these Stonebound supposedly use special stones to give them magic powers. This group of Stone Hunters must have been tracking some poor soul when they made the mistake of crossing into our lands.
Oh, it's all nonsense.
Interjects Vera.
The Stonebound don't even exist. What kind of fool believes in magic and fairy tales?
What do you think, Karzan? Do you have any insight on the matter?
Karzan looks down at his boots and inhales slowly before letting it out. He seems to be weighing his thoughts. A few moments pass before he seems to reach some decision. He looks up slowly and meets the captain's eyes.
It's not nonsense. I have seen a Stonebound with my own eyes.
Karzan waits to be interrupted, but everyone is silent, waiting for him to go on.
This was a few months ago. I was on a galley patrolling just off the east coast near neutral waters. We had been out for about a week, and we were just making one last run of the coastline before returning home, when 5 Fallman ships came out of nowhere. They had been hiding in a cove, waiting for us. Before we could react, they had lobbed a ball of burning pitch right at us. Captain, I knew in that moment I was going to die. I could only stare as that ball of fiery death got closer. It was a perfect shot, and then it was gone. I couldn't believe my eyes. We all looked around to see what had happened. Someone pointed up at the cliffs above us. There was a lone girl standing there. I didn't get a clear look at her before she...
What? What did you see?
Well, sir, she jumped.
She jumped?
Yes, sir. My heart leapt into my throat. I thought she was going to die, but she didn't. She flew towards the fallen ships like a falling meteor. Halfway down, a brilliant spear appeared in her hand, and she drove it right through the deck of the lead ship.
Vera begins to laugh. It starts as a snicker and builds up to a full-on belly laugh.
Oh, why have we never heard of this meteor girl of yours, Karzan? Let me guess. She destroyed all the ships, then flew back into space, but not before stopping to give you a peck on the cheek.
Enough, Vera.
It's true. She destroyed every ship there, then disappeared.
Vera doubles over in laughter until nothing but wheezing comes out of her.
Oh, Karzan.
Karzan turns away in disgust.
I know what I saw.
I don't doubt your sincerity, my friend.
Says Captain Grigory, placing his arm around Karzan's shoulders.
But perhaps you were so scared in the moment that you weren't thinking straight.
Captain,
It's okay, Karzan. We'll speak more of this later. We need to check on Pavel and Yana, then head back to Silny.
Captain Grigory heads back down into the narrow pass, followed by Catherine and Vera, who is still chuckling and wiping tears from her eyes. You Karzin's shoulder, offering silent support before following the others. When you reach them, your breath catches. There before you stands Pavel and Yana, each holding a strange stone. Stranger still, they are glowing. Karzin smiles and looks at Vera. She isn't laughing anymore.
And there we have it. The prologue. That then takes us to campaign 1. And setup. That's already taken care of. Normally, when you start, you have 2 characters. This one starts with you just having Grigory, and then Alex gets added on. As you go, and Grigory is starting here on node 28. There's a giant mini on the table, and I'm curious. Let's... That's where we can see. That is further north than we are. So, I'm going to use... swap over here to a much smaller version. I'm going to put you guys over here. And let's use this blue token to represent where I am. If I get, like I said, if I adjust my camera setup, do 2 cameras. Let's begin chapter 1. And for that, we have more story.
Pavel and Yana are glowing. You blink your eyes, but nothing changes. They just stand there, glowing.
Stonebound.
The word forms in your mind. You immediately begin scrambling for other explanations. A trick of the light, a hallucination, anything to explain how 2 people can be standing right in front of you glowing.
Captain?
Yana's quiet voice pulls you out of your thoughts. You look up to see she is staring at you.
What?
Your voice catches. You can't seem to remember how to speak.
Captain? It's okay. Everything will be okay.
She smiles and places a small stone in your hand. Time ceases to exist. You are surrounded by an immense presence that threatens to overwhelm your senses. Pieces of your life flash before your eyes. Your father teaching you how to string a bow. Fishing for striped fish through a hole in the lake ice. Laying in the loft as mother's stories fill your head with wonder each night. You also see darker things. Stealing a chicken from Brother Fenn's yard. Bloodying Carl's nose in a childhood fight. The terror of your first battle. The face of the first soldier you ever killed. Just a boy whimpering for his life as you struck, again and again, trying to silence him. You look up and see a vast darkness stretching out before you.
Terrors.
It rolls over you like a fog, burying you in shame and regret. Suddenly, a voice calls out to you from beyond the chaos. You turn to the voice, and the darkness is shattered. You breathe in, out, and everything is okay. When you finally open your eyes, your guards are all around you. Pavel, Yana, Catherine, Yuri, Vera, Karzin. You look at each of them and see that you are all something more now.
Stonebound.
The word comes to you again. In the back of your mind, the voice is still there, speaking to you, guiding you. You sense that it is calling you to a valley, the Valley of Lux.
Guards,
Your voice is odd in your own ears.
I know not what is happening, but I know that nothing will be the same again.
Your words seem to break some strange spell, and time resumes.
I can see that you all have experienced something like what I have. While we have been fighting our petty wars, a great darkness has come upon us unseen.
Your guards are silent, no doubt reliving their own experience with the enveloping shadow.
But fear not, for there is a mighty presence who guides us now.
At this, your fellow Stonebound look up hopefully, and there are even a few smiles.
We can all hear the voice calling us to the valley, and I wish to go. But I feel it is my duty as captain to warn the king of what is coming.
You continue before there can be any objection.
Karzin, you are the most experienced guard here. I want you to lead everyone to the valley, while I travel to Silni. If I can make the king see the truth, we can strike a mighty blow against the shadow.
Karzin looks at you intently.
Captain, I will do my best, but I can't help thinking you're making a mistake by trying to convince the king.
Perhaps, but I owe it to the people of Isofar to try. They must know that the Stonebound are real. When I'm done, I will meet you all in the valley.
You give one last look to your guards, your fellow Stonebound, before stepping on the road to Silni.
All right, so while that was going on, I did a little bit of setup. Mainly, I put out a token on 32 here. We're headed towards Silni, which is 32. Yes, 32. So we have a couple of spots to go. And let's experience what that's going to look like. And here I'm going to go to the rulebook, just to make sure I do this properly. So, on tells us to advance here. And this is kind of the crux of the game here. In this bag, there are 5 chips. 3 of those are combat. But we got this one here. Which means, of course, I have to look up what that one does. Because if we had drawn an enemy chip, and we get to place a purple cube out here on that region. And then want to make sure. Then we return it to the bag. And that's it. That's it this time. Actually worked out really well for us. Have this hang out the corner up here, which you can't see. And we get 2 skulls. So that's going to lead us into a combat here. And I need to find the index book down here. Chapter 1. We have a 2 skull on node 31. That is going to be a Timberwolf. So, go over here. I wonder why I packed those cards in so tightly. Make it better for myself. We grab out the Timberwolf. We just need one, thankfully. And I want to, this is going to be fun. Look at the example they have in the book. So I'm going to reset that onto the board because this is a nice little reference guide. With a nice little combat in there somewhere. So let's get down, let's go over here. All right, so we have enemy. Let's do enemy setup. 2 there. We have 7 health, 2 attack, and 1 defense. Gregory up here. Let me do one thing here. Apologies. There. Now we have Gregory's board up here fully visible. So you can see Gregory has 20 health, 3 attack, 2 defense. So we're going to choose Gregory to activate. We can choose what order we want to activate in. Obviously we only have 1. Then we draw out chips 1 at a time for Gregory. And Gregory has his own bag of chips. When Alex comes in, Alex is going to have his own bag of chips. So we draw equal to these gray cubes here. And we're getting attack with the side of attack. So Thanks. Thanks, Ring Doorbell. So we're going to perform an attack here. We spend a chip to attack. There's first we're going to activate this for 1 to reduce the wolf's armor or defenses down to 0 with a feint. Then we attack. Gregory's attack is at a 3, so we reduce the health down. Then excuse me. We didn't get much. These, we're just going to set them here for right now. Stay out. This would be exhausted since we used it. Refreshes. And then the Timberwolf takes its turn. Has nothing of its own. So it's gonna flip this over. And normally whoever goes last is gonna be the one who is targeted. But obviously Gregory is our only one here, so Gregory is going to be attacked. So choose target self. If health is 5 or less. Yeah, I did not shuffle these up. So we're going to shuffle them up. Mainly, I don't want to have to deal with pulling out, setting up another Timberwolf in the midst of this. Not yet. It should be shuffled. There's nothing that says it was set in order, so could be the same card again. Lick wounds, heals 1. Track 1. Draw a card. So it's going to attack the lowest one. 1Q. It hits for 4. Gregory has 2 defense. So I believe I'm doing that correct. Then they activate to add, of course, something I haven't opened yet. A red skull. Probably not the red skull, but a red skull to Gregory's bag. I'll be opening up chips as this goes along. Set this over here. That gets added in. And I draw 2. An attack and a defense. So I can activate, of course, the healed one. So 4, wait, 7, should have been at 3 to 4. I'm going to do the same thing as last time, because that reduces that down to 0. Yeah, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Yep, heals 1. And then I will just activate an attack to get 4 more damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have beaten the enemy. Alright. Discard all chips. Blah, blah, blah. Discard chips. Discard chips. Alright, so now I need to look at the rulebook here for a second to remember what happens when we win. Like I said, I went through this and I learned the rules yesterday. There's just, customizing a guard is still on enemy's turn, end of battle. So, collect the rewards from the enemy card. Gain 2 Lux Essence. And should be, theoretically, in this box we have enemy drops. I'm guessing towards the end here. Oh, thanks. This is not in alphabetical order. Thanks, I hate it. We gain a wolf pelt, which we can add to our pack. We have 1 wolf pelt. I'm going to spend some time and put those cards in alphabetical order after the fact, which you can't see. This nice little tray of little cards here. So we've completed that. We have beaten our Timberwolf. Grab those. And in the Timberwolf section, slot that back in. So that's done. Then, do you want to check here on end battle? Page 35, very close to the end here. All chips from the enemy dashboard back to the supply. And the red chip. Okay. Return green and red chips from both the guard dashboards and ability dashboards back to the supply. Return all black and purple chips to both the guard on both the guard and ability dashboards to the guard's bag. Return green AP cubes. Blah, blah. Flip. Doesn't tell me to get rid of that red one. So that is going to be sitting in here. And I'm sure that's something great. I mean, who wouldn't want that? So we have completed that combat. Can return cubes. We don't heal up. And then return the chip. Let me reset our map. And we hit 32. So when we hit the narrative token on 32, we're going to pull out a mini map and then have a little bit of story. I should have known to have this one prepped. Let me switch us over to Silny. And we are here. I believe that story one goes away. You know what? We'll keep our blue cube on the map. And then we're on to Silny, Seer's Gate.
You round the final bend in the road and see the walls of Silny standing before you, cradling the city beneath the sheer face of Mount Ural. You never cared much for the bustle of city life, preferring the company of a few good soldiers and the peace of the wilderness. Still, it has been a long day, and a soft pillow beneath your head would be most welcome. But first, the king.
Who goes there?
The familiar face peering down at you from the wall is wearing a lopsided grin.
You know exactly who it is, Alec. With you guarding the wall, I'm surprised Fulmond hasn't already taken the city.
It's good to have you back, Captain. Open the gates!
There is a slight pause before the Seer's Gate cracks open, and then swings in with a great groaning of timbers. When you step through the gate, Alec is there to meet you.
Where to, Captain? The barracks or the Raven's Beak?
Neither, I'm afraid. I must speak to the king immediately.
The smile drops from Alec's face.
So you came upon trouble on your patrol then?
Yes, trouble and something else.
You suddenly feel self-conscious about being stonebound. You determine not to say anything until the king is notified.
I see. Keep your secrets then. Let's get you to the king.
So it says, move Gregory's chip. I'm using this to Castle Strigg. And proceed to Chapter 1. 13. 1, 3.
After passing through the chaotic city streets, you see Castle Strigg rising above the inner walls. Alec escorts you through the inner gate before passing you off to a member of the King's Guard.
Farewell, Captain. If you get the chance, stop by the barracks before you leave the city. I know the guard would love to see you.
Thank you, Alec. I'll be sure to do that when I'm done here. Make sure to keep your eyes sharp on that wall.
You return Alec's salute and turn to ascend the steps to the Great Hall. 2 more of the King's Guard pull open the hall doors, and you are greeted by the booming voice of King Karst.
Gregory, my faithful companion, I'm glad to see you. But your early return does not bode well. Tell me, what have you encountered out on your patrol?
King Karst's frankness is often jarring to outsiders. But you know that the king doesn't suffer foolish pomp or idle pleasantries. It is often best to get straight to the point.
My king, we ambushed a band of Falman's soldiers in the mountain passes west of here. Judging by their brazen actions and the material they carried on them, my best guess is that they were stone hunters.
Ah, stone hunters. King Joram has gone well and truly mad. He now sends good soldiers to their death on a fool's fancy.
My king, I know this sounds unlikely, but King Joram may not be as mad as we suspect. I have seen something that will change our understanding of the world.
You pause, screwing up your courage before uttering.
The Stonebound are real.
King Karst locks his gaze with you before a new voice breaks the silence.
The Stonebound do not exist.
A cloaked shadow emerges from behind the throne.
Greetings, Temnota. I was wondering if you would be skulking back there.
Such disrespect is unbecoming in one of your stature. I'd be more careful, especially after espousing such heresy.
The truth is not heresy.
Well then, show us the truth.
So now, I have a choice. Prove to Temnota that you are stonebound, or speak to King Karst privately. Either way, I suspect this will not go well. Actually, I know it probably won't, because this little bit through the prologue and then to the town are basically what was shown during the Kickstarter campaign. So, actually, I want to see how it handles this.
A. Prove to Temnota that you are stonebound. B. Speak to King Karst privately.
And it gives me a choice. And it's built into the app, actually. Pretty nice. I was wondering how they would do this. I'm going to prove.
You hold your sword aloft, and it emits a faint glow. It seems to gather in the shadows from the room and absorb them into the sword. As the shadows disappear, the sword grows brighter.
Simple tricks for fools,
Sneers Temnota, but you can see that she is visibly shaken.
You make a mockery of our way of life, and will bring ruin on us all. Sire, you know that King Joram will bring all-out war to us if he even suspects that we have found this power.
King Karst sits stunned on his throne. He stares at you, as if seeing you for the first time.
Who are you?
Temnota raises her voice again.
Sire, we cannot afford to go to war over one delusional captain. Captain Gregory has proved his heresy by his own actions. To claim there is a power other than that given to us by Uvadet is blasphemy worthy of death.
As Temnota speaks, the sunlight streaming in through the windows dims as if a cloud has passed in front of the sun. King Karst stirs slightly, but his eyes also seem clouded over. He finally lifts his gaze and speaks to you.
You must leave these lands. Sire, this isn't you. Temnota has poisoned your mind.
That's enough from you. Guards, you heard the king. Captain Gregory is hereby banished from Isofar. Take him away.
The King's Guard steps in to escort you out of the hall, but just before you leave, King Karst seems to recover slightly.
You may take any provisions you need from Fort Strass.
Temnota's eyes widen slightly before she narrows her gaze to give you a withering stare.
Be safe, Captain Gregory.
So then, I place this here. There's no real need to do that. We haven't been kicked out yet, officially. So, we get to go and do chapter 1-6.
You pass through the streets of Silni in a daze. There is no doubt that Temnota and the Circle of Seers have been thoroughly corrupted by Tenebris. Your heart aches for King Karst, but you can only hope he can resist Temnota. Perhaps you can rally support from the guards at Fort Strass. Maybe there are some there who would listen to their old captain, even if he did claim to be stonebound. Lost in your thoughts, you realize you've wandered into Rhinox Square, the bustling center of Silni. The crowd is thick and noisy as merchants call out to potential customers, and people weave around the heavy carts rumbling along their routes between warehouse and stall. Out of the corner of your eye, you happen to catch a glint of steel. You instinctively raise your arm to block the blade, but the attacker scores a small hit on your arm. Temnota certainly didn't waste any time.
So then, as much as I love Spiral Bound, we have our dear old assassin there. We have a battle. Against a seer assassin. Two-star. 15 hit points. 3 attack, 2 defense. It says, and I was reading that as A1 deck. I was like, what in the hell is an A1 deck? AI makes way more sense. Yeah, it's an A1 steak sauce deck. So, let's get back to our combat view here. One thing with the combat view is I do have a card here in the bottom corner. So I need to figure out what that one's for. It's basically a one-off. I'm going to say... I don't actually think that should have been in there, because that seems like a... it's a fear, basically, to keep you from drawing as much. And that tells me that my defense for this turn is up by 1. Plus... oh, let's play everyone's favorite guessing game of where is the temporary chip. Oh, goodness. These chips are heavy, by the way. Not the easiest just to, like, at full reach, pick up like that. They're super nice. Like, very impressed by them. To the floor. Trash. I add another defense to the bag. And I could strike, but instead go here and chain. So I get to add one of these, plus I had another already. So I'm going to use and add 2 of them to the bag. Building up for that offensive turn. All that refreshes. Those are spent. And now, put the knife away. It's a nice knife holding spot up there. We flip. And it says, seriously, maybe this... poison? Okay, let's find the poison chip. That shouldn't be that difficult to do. And this should show me better what color it is. Purple. When drawn, immediately adds and counts. Ooh. Do I actually see it? I just missed it. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to be watching the first episode of Secret Invasion. I'm excited. So, that gets dropped in as well. So, it's a dash attack. So it's going to hit for 4. I'm blocking 3. I take 1 damage. Discard 2 random chips from the target's bag. Two attacks. Then, opportunistic 1. Draw a card. 1 cube. Draw 1 card. Note to self. Keep those on. Didn't matter so much last time. But the abilities are going to flip. You know what? Sorry for this. Yoink. I'm up there now, so you can see full combat setup. So, we're looking at that. We took our damage and then draw one card. I mean, technically, anything that doesn't... So it says gain a green cube. So then everything is going to reset. These two flip. Let me double check what green cubes are. Pretty sure they get added to that pool. They're basically temporary action points. So you would lose them at the end of combat, but they increase your card draw. Why? If I get 2 shields, I might just activate that one. So I got a poison, and I have to remember to draw one at a time. And then I got 1 shield. 1 shield doesn't do me much good because I could play it here. Oh, I did that wrong last time. So I'm going to play that there because over here we can add this chip to an enemy. Not the enemy's bag. Nothing like that. To the enemy. We have used feint. And reduced the attack power or defense by 1. So they turn. Viper Strike. So that is 5 damage, and if it deals damage, it adds a poison. And it does. It deals 2 damage. And then it says heal 2 and draw a card. Camp did that. Heal 2, already at full. Draw a card. Nothing it can do there because it spent all of that. So both of us refresh. To attack. So I could attack 1 enemy for +2, which would be 5, which would be 3 damage coming through. I can make it 4. It's telling me, I think, that I could add one of these cubes here. So I could add 1, and then just attack for 3. I could spend both of these, which I don't have a great way to gain that yet. Both of those for +2 to attack, so I'm attacking for 5, becomes 3. Knock the assassin down a little bit. The assassin's turn. Loading you up with poison. Four chips in there. So we'll see something new here soon. Attacking a poison means I know I have a poison in there. Oh, I deal an extra damage because the defense has been reduced. And I do want to check. End of a round of combat. Enemy's turn, cleanup phase. Discard all chips from the enemy. So, back up when we go. Except for evasion. Discard all chips. Green chips. Get returned to the supply. Alright. Yeah. So that's happened. Then spends 1. Draw a card. Add 2 poison. I'm just getting poison everywhere. This is not fun. Because they're hitting for 4, so I take 1 damage. And those 2 poison get added to the bag. Hopefully I'm not making this harder on myself than I should be. Let me do one last double check here on I want that book that's underneath there. Yeah, they literally are just drawing more cards. I do want to check the secondary thing. Alright. So I was hoping that this green cube would go away. It does not. So I took my 1 damage. That comes back. This one flips back over. And I'm going to spend a health. Because I know I have a poison in there. Draw 2. 2 poisons. That's my turn. This says disrupt dagger. Discard 2 sword chips from target's bag. Two sword chips. And then gains another green cube. But the big thing is it doesn't flip again. So I took my 1 damage. We repeat this process. So this battle is one basically you face off against until you win. I may adjust the difficulty level if I don't beat it this first time. This is how you do it. So, on the back side of this card, requires 2 attack symbols. I can use this one to do that. What do I want to do? I could get 2 extra, 2 punch up. My attack could add another attack. So I'm going to add a punch up. This is what I call it anyways. Somewhere in here. Punch up. And they're in green. They're good for you. So one of the first things you'll want to do with Gregory, definitely seems, is make it so it can draw more. So I'm adding one of these to the back. And then I'm going to attack for 3 to defense and take him down another 1. That flips. Oh, and I would activate, I haven't been using my cross slash. I would to increase that damage by 1 because that refreshes at the end of every turn. Now, of course, they're through all their cards. Shuffle it up. 2. Discarding 2 random chips. Of course, 2 that I care about. I take 1 damage. I'm going to use that health potion if it gets low enough. Draw a card. Discard 2 swords. I take 1 damage again. Joke's on you. I don't have 2 swords. Of course, that one's going to go away without me having used it. Sucks. But that's how it works because of the fact that it got pulled and it's of the color that can go away. So it gains another green cube, basically really ramping up at this point. So now this comes back. I already did the flip because I had to look for something. I know it's in there, so I'm going to put everything back in. Let's draw again. Let's draw something good. Poison. Ouch. And an attack. So I can attack for 1, 2. Yeah, I'm going to attack for 2. That one's gone. For now. I wish I had a way to draw an additional 1. Because then 2 is enough to get okay-ish combos going, but not great. So we come back over to the enemy turn. 2 more poison. I'm gonna run out of poison here. So it hits for 1. And just ends the turn. Attack and a poison. So I can make that a 4 again. I should have hit for 2. Like, purple doesn't go away on cleanup. I understand that it's poison, but... yeah. It is what it is at this point. So, 2, 4, 5 to attack. I have 2 defense. I take 3. They heal 2. Draw a card. They hit for 2. Remove 2 swords. So I'm going to have to do this combat again. For sure. It's double sword. They gain another green. Like, you have to jump on them fast. I think that's what I'm learning here. And I have to remember to use that cross-slash ability. Because if I get a poison here, 2 poisons, Gregory has died. But instead, what happens is it resets, and we do it again. But this is actually a good time. Well, first off, let's clear out this real quick. Turn so many purples. And so purples I don't think actually even leave between combats. But I've heard that Alec might potentially have a way to deal with them. Because that would really be hurting every combat to just be losing absurd amounts of life. But there we have it. There we have our first game of Isofarian Guard. And so next game, we might see one change occur, and that's that we might play on story mode. Story mode simply means that reset everything correctly. Simply means that when you get into a combat like we did, you don't... the enemy has 1 less defense. So if I could have been getting 1 more damage through, I hit like 5 times. It would have been close, much closer. I finished that off a little prematurely. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully this was fun. This was really challenging in a good way. I really like the story. So I'm excited to get back to this next week, see what happens. Next week I don't think I'm going to have an updated camera setup. But I'm going to look into kind of what I need to get to probably do a slightly better... We have our board, and then we have our combat area. That I think would be the ideal setup for what I would want to do. If you enjoyed this content, please give the video a thumbs up or leave a comment. And if you want to know when I go live, generally it's every Monday at 8:30 p.m. and then every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Wednesdays are going to be these campaign games, and Mondays are going to be, well, really any other type of solo game experience I can come up with. Right now I'm thinking Welcome to the Moon is going to be what I play through next there. But hopefully this was fun. I had a lot of fun. And if you want to know other things that I do, I have a podcast called 10 Minute Marvel. You can check that out. And then maybe if you're more into board gaming stuff, like, I mean, that's my big hobby. you can check out nerdologist.com, where I write about that stuff all the time. With that, bottoms up.